were pretty looking people, but I can tell you people, they were the devil's children.
Greetings from Castle Goring, from Nikki and from me. We're going to show you pictures of the puppies taken while they're sleeping. And now that Mickey has said hello, I'm going to actually allow her to go back into the bedroom and be with the wuppies. Bips. Go on. Go on. Go. Good girl. Come on. You want to stay? You want to stay for a little while? Okay, stay for a little while. Go on. That's a good girl. You can stay as long as you want. Yes. Hopefully, we can keep this relatively light today. Know your granny says. Oh my word, Lady C. You don't miss and hit the wall, as we say in Scotland. Please come up north and deal with that wee bampot sturgeon. SOS from Communist Scotland. P.S. Congratulations on your grandpups. Well, I gather that Jacinda Ardern in New Zealand is another one that several people would like me to dispatch. Well, I'm afraid I can't. Sorry. You know, but isn't it amazing the abuse to which some people will put their power? And they are on a massive power trip. And what I find really interesting about this is that in the early days of this pandemic, extreme caution was called for. But as it became apparent that there was less and less need for caution, what we have ended up seeing is power-hungry control freaks, quite determined to use the pandemic for their own political gains and their power tripping. Do they seriously think that the world is to be permanently shut down because of flu? In fact, because of anything. Life has to go on. Well, my recommendation to you and know your granny is don't vote SNP and make sure nobody votes SNP again. That would be my recommendation to you. Sydney B says, regarding Harry, does that mean Harry would get free security while he's here in America? I think Sydney B is alluding to the fact that if Harry's application for a judicial review is successful, that somehow it could be stretched into Dare Harry being an internationally protected person and having security worldwide. That's exactly what it means, Sydney B. That's the object of the exercise. Harry and Meghan are ego trippers. They want all of us to know how important they are. And not only us to know, they are acting for each other and acting for themselves. That's a part of the personality types that one is dealing with. It's all an act. And they are their audience as well as the scriptwriter, the director, the producer, the actor. Yeah, look how important I am. I need to be protected against everybody at all times, because if I'm not, I might end up tapped? Now this is an entertaining one. Margaret Hoskins makes a very good point. She says, can it not be said that Meghan and Harry's business dealings are all cash for access, as nothing would be happening for them business-wise without his titles and family connections? That, of course, is a clear allusion to Dear Harry's knifing his father via the leaked Sunday Times emails from Mark Dyer about Sheikh Mahfouz Mubarak. Harry and Meghan's objection when they were within the royal family was that the cash was not going to them. The cash was going elsewhere. They wanted financial independence. They wanted the cash to go to them directly. It's now going to them. They are selling access to themselves as royals in return for cash. And while that is going on, his father is being accused of selling access to raise money for charity. Well, people don't seem to understand the law regarding the charity access was about honours, not charity. Charity, you give money freely or sometimes with strings attached. And if there are strings attached, you get your reward. It's a barter system. It's not cash for access, because the Honours, 1925 Honours Act, concerns the direct sale of honours for cash. I forget what the amounts were, but it was something like £50,000 for a viscountcy, and either £10,000 or £20,000 for a baronetcy, and maybe £20,000 for a barony. That is what is illegal. Raising money for charity by saying, yes, I will accept £1 million and pose for a photograph and have you for a weekend, or go to your palace for a weekend and get £1 million. There's nothing illegal about it. I can't emphasize this strongly enough. As long as the money goes to charity, it is not illegal. It becomes illegal if you are buying an honour, specifically, for instance, knighthoods for sale. Donate £2 million to the Prince of Wales's charities and you will get a knighthood. But if you want a peerage, that's going to be £20 million. That would be illegal. Nothing else is. I hope that clears this up. Rupert Murdoch's Sunday Times is trying to illegalize and criminalize a perfectly acceptable activity. Somebody gives something and gets something in return. Fair exchange is no bargain, and there is no law that says that charity donations should come with no strings attached. They normally do have strings attached. Why do you think people give millions? They're not giving millions normally, totally out of the kindness of their heart. They are being rewarded for their generosity. I mean, since Rupert Murdoch lives in a world of utter sleaze, I don't know why he would be trying to sleazify something that benefits everybody. Now, if there are specific price tags attached to certain donations, that would be illegal. So I hope I've made the point clearly, and we'll now go on to Susan Emery says, "Hi Lady C, thank you for your insights once again and the glimpse of those adorable little puppies. We're posting a picture of them. In regard to the Charles charity scandal, I don't think this story is as damaging to Charles as intended. The real story is how the Royal Foundation funds ended up in Harry's privately owned company Travelist, and why that is not being investigated. Do you have any insights, Lady C?" I do. My understanding is that it was investigated and that Harry's explanation was accepted, that because Travelist didn't have a charitable status at the time, that it was perfectly acceptable for the funds to go into Travelist as a private company. That is my understanding. I could be wrong. I don't think I am. And of course, because Harry's Harry, and everybody bends over backwards to let him off the hook, he was duly let off the hook. But you notice, Harry doesn't find it at all corrupt that charity money ends up in his private company. But the leaks that he, or maybe not him personally, but his people have engineered with the Sunday Times, indicate that the millions of pounds that Sheikh Mahfouz Mubarak was making, that somehow, because he wanted something in return, like a weekend stay sort of thing, or he wanted Harry in exchange for £1 million to get his sorry bum into high gear and go and see him for a weekend, so that there would be pictures to put on his desk. But Harry, in his delusional state, thinks he's so important that the man should give everything for nothing and not get the photographs in return. Well, quite frankly, you really have to be delusionally arrogant, impertinent, and totally out of touch with reality to think that a few photographs of you are worth more than £1 million. Patricia Scott says, "Charles doesn't need enemies with a son like Harry. You can say that again. He has an enemy. He has the enemy of whoever is leaking this private stuff, Harry's emails, Mark Dyer's emails. That is an enemy. That is the action of an enemy." Well, you know the saying, with friends like those, who needs enemies? I would have said, with disaffected children, look no further than King Lear. Nessa V says, "Dear Lady C, much love to you, Mickey, and your beautiful puppies." Thank you very much. Regarding the Spare's ridiculous bid for public protection, one possibility I had not heard discussed is that they're desperately seeking internationally protected status because they want to travel the world inflicting their woke agenda, eye roll, I don't know how to do eye rolls, sorry, on the rest of us, which they won't be able to accomplish without that because they can't afford to buy their own home, let alone pay for security on their quest to rule the world, like Pinky and the Brain. Being internationally protected people would allow them to pose as royalty wherever they choose to go. And that cannot be allowed to happen. Their wannabe royal tour of New York City was painful enough. So a big thank you to the firm and the British people for putting a lid on that, thus effectively saving the rest of humanity from such cruel and unusual punishment. Your thoughts? Well, I have to tell you, Nessevi, I couldn't agree more. You know, Meghan said to Gina Nelthorpe-Cowan, her manager, after the first date with Harry, she said that she pretty much had him in the bag, turned out to be true, and that they together would change the world. They would change the world. And they have been trying to change the world. She has absolute contempt for tradition and for the royal way. As I pointed out in my book, Meghan and Harry, the Real Story, they use the word tradition as if it is a dirty word. So she swans in and she's going to change everything and make it to suit her. And of course, then she was going to decamp because she couldn't waste her breath and her time on dinky little mares when she hoped to be able to get $1 million in the same time by flogging her frowsy self to some American commercial enterprise. Well, it's not quite worked out the way they hoped, has it? But yes, their intention was to decamp, to make a shed load of money, to satisfy their gluttony for glory, at the same time that they were satisfying their greed for money and attention by becoming the most revered couple on earth. That was the game plan, and it's not quite worked the way they hoped it would. But yes, she said it. She told Gina Nelthorpe-Cowan, and Gina Nelthorpe-Cowan has said she wants to rule the world. This is her former manager who knows her very well, and her behavior certainly indicates that what Gina Nelthorpe-Cowan has said is true. One only hopes that these free-loading, air-headed, empty vessels that make rather too much noise will have to pay for their security out of their own pockets ad infinitum. Caroline Collett says, Meghan Markle's Armani wrap dress that she wore on the Oprah show is to be exhibited at the Fashion Museum in Bath. I wonder how popular an exhibit it will be. Well, it will certainly get more footfall than the Fashion Museum in Bath has hitherto been getting. I gather that it was hawked around and offered around, and that the Fashion Museum in Bath nibbled because they saw the possibilities publicity-wise. What we're dealing with here is one opportunist taking advantage of the offer of another opportunist. This is a crass commercialization of royalty. And this is the sort of thing that wouldn't happen had they remained within the royal fold. Yes, dresses do get loaned out, so do pictures, so do pieces of jewellery, but not with a PR company begging and pleading for some fashion museum to take it. And let's not forget, Meghan has very good fashion connections. She's got that chap Edward Edinfull, who is the editor of Vogue, and I noticed she wasn't at the wedding, by the way, because he just got married, and she wasn't at the wedding. But then I suppose she couldn't come because she can't get security. I don't think it's going to make a dramatic difference to the Fashion Museum in Bath, but it will make something of a difference because the curiosity value is there. And I'm not decrying the Fashion Museum in Bath for having accepted the dress, but to say it's a spectacular dress and it's the most beautiful dress of the year. Oh, I'm sorry, I should be crying. It's the most beautiful dress of all time, H. And those ghastly people are just saying that it's just the most beautiful dress of the year. H, what am I going to do? Everybody hates me because I'm a woman of colour. And so authentic. People just can't cope with all this authenticity. Oh, also, speaking about women of colour, I noticed that the mannequin that they've put it on is a good 10 shades darker than Meghan. Excuse me, I thought blackface was unacceptable. So if blackface is unacceptable, browning up too much has also got to be unacceptable. They should have actually matched the colour if they were going to go down that route. Or better still, put it on a transparent dummy. Because in some ways, Meghan is a transparent dummy. That would be much more appropriate than somebody who is 10 shades darker than she is. So it seems to me as if in all of this, they're also rather negatively playing the colour card. And since people criticise Justin Trudeau for blacking up, I think we should criticise the Fashion Museum in Bath for browning up. Karen Hughes says, surprise, surprise, the Duchess of Cambridge is doing a solo visit to Copenhagen. And who pipes up? Harry's wife. The dress she wore for the interview with Oprah is to go on fashion display in Bath. after being named the fashion item of the year. So said the Daily Mail online. I wonder where they got that little bit of information from. And yes, isn't it coincidental? Every single time one of Meghan and Harry's competitors, meaning the rest of the royal family, anytime any one of them does anything, there are Harry and Meghan pipping them at the post. Cat Bar says, speaking of a frowsy cow, I read somewhere that Rachel has spent in excess of $500,000 on clothes in the last 12 months, and Catherine has spent a smidge over $80,000. And don't we know who looked the better presented, better dressed, classist, and appropriately dressed one of the two? Oh, Cat Bar, I'm so disappointed in you. Are you telling me that Catherine Cambridge, on such a low budget and with such a fabulously dreadful figure and no height and no presence, could look better than Megsy Baby with everything ill-fitting, and Megsy Baby walking like Joan Collins after a good night? Well, point taken, Cat Bar. Yes, you know, you can't turn a sow's ear into a silk purse, and you can't turn a wannabe ersatz aristocrat into the real McCoy. And Meghan, sadly, isn't the real McCoy. Catherine may have been born into an upper middle class family, but she is one of nature's aristocrats. The word aristocrat comes from the ancient Greek word meaning the best. You don't have to be titled. You can be one of nature's aristocrats. Catherine is. Meghan certainly isn't. Fiona Howard says, didn't Harry ask his father if he'd beaten him to the money from that man when walking into a meeting between Charles and the donor? I think she's referring to Sheikh Mubarak Mahfouz or Mahfouz Mubarak, whatever. Oh, I gather that he did make a witticism along those lines. Yes, he did. So, it goes to show, maybe it's more sour grapes now that he's got Meghan dropping pearls of poison in that little air. H, you know, they've just taken advantage of you. Everybody's just used you. I mean, your father's used you. Your Sheikh Mubarak was using you. Nobody recognizes how great you are except me. And yeah, you know, you shouldn't be so good-natured, H. You shouldn't allow people to step all over you. I mean, you know, don't give the milk away free. You got to charge for it, H. And, you know, all that. It wasn't a joke, H. It was really serious. I mean, you got sidelined. You got £50,000, and your father gets $2.5 million. And your father entertains this man. And you were quite right, H. Yeah, absolutely. You should never have gone to Saudi Arabia, no, for £1 million. I mean, who do they think they are? I mean, don't they know that you're my husband? Well, you weren't then, but still, you now are. I gewalt geschrigen, as they used to say in New York. Gail Knight says, it was Harry a few weeks ago who brought this up, without saying that he had also accepted money from the man in question for one of his charities. Gail Knight, that's absolutely correct. Harry, dear, sweet, loving Harry, trousered the £50,000 for Sentabale. Quite rightly so too. Quite rightly so too. And obviously now resents the fact that his father put in the hard work that he was too self-important and or lazy and or consequential to do. That's why his father got £2.5 million. His father hustled those buns for charity. Harry and Meghan only hustle their buns for themselves. And yes, pertinent omission, or maybe we should say a very impertinent omission. Because, of course, he made absolutely sure that when he was virtue signalling and I want that daddy of mine who's always raising money for charity and doing it in such a way that I don't approve of, I warned them. And look what's happened all these years later. Except, of course, that the suspicion now is that Harry's people are in collusion with the Sunday Times. If they weren't, how is it that they have this Sunday been able to write an article quoting Harry's and Mark Dyer's emails on this subject? The stench. I don't know about you, but I just think the stench is beyond belief. Kate French says, maybe I'm misremembering. Well, you obviously, my dear, are a Sussex. It's been a while now, but it seems that I remember something about Murdoch, that he did donate to Harry's charity back in 2011 or 2013, and that it was Harry that introduced him to his father. Wonder why that wasn't in the email. Well, I'm sure it was in other emails that have been withheld. Because when you're trying to compromise someone's reputation, you certainly aren't going to be dumb enough to leak aspects of correspondence that would not only exonerate the other party, but actually drop you in the brown stuff that you're trying to dish up for the delectation of your enemy. And let's be clear, this is about adversarialism. Olivera Bone says, Harry has kept the same Arab prince's donation for Sentabale, and it was only after the fact that he thought how awful these donations were. There are articles on this fact out there. Olivera Bone, I leave this subject with your comment. Cindy Smith says, shouldn't we have Princess Anne and Prince Edward for Counsellors of State? Well, I'm afraid it's not quite as simple as that. The Regency Act is what determines who will be a Counsellor of State. And the Counsellors of State are laid out very clearly in the Regency Act. and it's all down to status. And those nearest to the throne, who are adult and available, trump those who are further down the line of succession. I agree with you, Princess Anne and Prince Edward would make marvellous counsellors of state. However, they are too way down the line of succession to qualify. At this point, depends on the availability of the other adults. And an awful lot of adults would have to be unavailable for them to get a look in. Sue McDermott says, yes, both are sane and sensible. Yes, both are sane and sensible, and they would make excellent counsellors of state. And I think it's wonderful that several people have made the point that they would be really good counsellors of state. At least it shows they are being acknowledged, recognised, and their efforts are being appreciated. Mags Bufton says, Lady C, would not our royal princess be a counsellor of state before Harry? No, I'm afraid not. The Princess Royal is the Queen's second child, but the succession goes eldest child, children of the eldest child in diminishing status, then the monarch's second child, and again, third child. So it's not the Queen's 4 children, it keeps on dropping down, and that is the treachery and the wonderment of the royal system, that it is totally random in ways. It prevents ambition. It prevents those who wish to achieve power by seeking it. The royal system inflicts duty upon those who are born to it, whether they wish it or not. It is both a very random and a very cruel and harsh, but fair system, because in its randomness, it eliminates a lot of the danger of political ambition. Laura Davies says, why can't Princess Anne and her children be a counsellor of state? Well, we've covered that. They can't. And her children are really way down in the line of succession. But if necessary, they could step up to the plate. Sandra Skellen says, there is a video of Harry leaving the wellness clinic and there was not a car in sight, let alone paparazzi. Sandra Skellen, you are a naughty, 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 naughty girl. How? I'm going to have to call Mickey because I'm sympathising with Megsie, baby. Because you're being so unfair. I mean, just because the paparazzi weren't in sight doesn't mean they don't exist. And my age needs protection. And so do I. Can you believe when I was in Canada, when I was going out with H? And maybe even before, when I was a star on Suits? I had to keep on calling up the police because there were all sorts of people who were after me. Paparazzi and all of that. And then in California, Can you believe it? We've had drones over our property. Of course, there wouldn't have been any need to have drones in Windsor because of all that security that the palace laid on when we were senior royals, working royals. No chance of paparazzi getting near to us then. No. So we had to move from where we were protected to a place where there's access. And even then, we're not being chased. Nobody wants to chase me and Harry. I don't believe it. Why don't they want to chase me and Diana Mac too? I am Diana Mac too. Everybody chased her. Why is nobody chasing me? I can't believe this. It's just so unjust. It's got to be because I'm a proud, confident woman of colour. That's what it's got to be. Racism, sexism, every ism except realism. It's just so awful. Nobody has any sympathy for me or Harry. No, my darling H. I mean, that ghastly woman, Sergeant Skinner, pointing out that there wasn't a car in sight, let alone paparazzi, when H left the wellness clinic. But H saw them, and I don't care that Cressida Bonner says that H was always seeing paparazzi where they didn't exist. That's not so. H wouldn't imagine anything. I mean, H is really realistic. I mean, look, he knows I'm the greatest thing on earth. His judgment is superb. Not even superb, it's superb. Joanna Kennedy says, the thing is, we British don't want Harry back here. He's no use to this country, so why would he need security? Harry is stupid. He knows we Brits don't carry guns. All he would get is verbal shouts. I can't believe that. Anybody shouting at H. And, I can't hear people shouting at me. I'm the direct line to the succession of the throne. In my now mid-Atlantic accent. No, I can't have. Megs, we can't allow this, no. Brits don't carry guns. All he would get is verbal shouts. Harry should stay with the witch he wed and disappear in La La Land. My dear, he has appeared in La La Land. He hasn't disappeared in it. He has appeared in it. He is very much with what you call the witch. Other people have different categorizations, very similar words, but much higher up the alphabet, like A, B, oh dear, what comes after B? I've forgotten. But Joanna Kennedy, your point is a very valid one. There's no danger to Harry's life in this country. We don't have guns. But he has chosen to move to a place that does have guns. But he's safe there, and he's not safe here. Oh, gosh. Mrs. Ray says, I live in Southern California, and I'm here to tell you that LA is dangerous, and Harry has no issue going there. Interesting. You're absolutely right, Mrs. Ray. So it's not about danger. Because if you are so security conscious that you need security, you leave protected environment in Great Britain, you leave a large house called Frogmore Cottage on the Windsor estate, where you're so cordoned off that not even neighbours can get near you. And you move to a place where gun crime is rife, where everybody has access to you. What does that tell you? I know what it tells me. It tells me that they don't want security. They want photo ops. That's what they want. And the security is simply to let everybody know how important they are. Partly Cloudy says, Lady C, did you know that the girl that inspired handbag into starting Sentabale, Harry and Sentabale have done nothing for her in the last 5 years or more. Harry's pledged to pay for her medical and education and shelter. Yet the poor girl lives in a one-room hut in squalor. So much for Harry or Sentabale fulfilling promises. He hasn't covered her bills or educational cost. Neither has Sentabale. Partly Cloudy, I know nothing about that, but I read it out for what it is worth. And if it turns out that that is so, it is shocking and disgraceful. You know, when you pledge something, when you make a promise, you are honor bound to keep it. I actually have a motto that I often use with people who I work with, and they say, for instance, oh well, I'm not feeling well, and they try to skive off. And I say, well, death is the only excuse. I'm sorry, to a large extent, unless you're really ill. I don't believe in being namby-pamby. As you might have discovered, I have been rather ill myself in the last few weeks, but it hasn't stopped me fulfilling my duties any more than COVID has stopped the Queen fulfilling those duties that she can. It's all about honour and integrity and stepping up to the plate and doing what you should be doing at all times that you can do it. And being a bit tough on yourself when necessary. Not cruel, because you need to be gentle with yourself as well. But you also need to be tough with yourself. And if the inspiration for Sentabale has been dumped like yet more rubbish, I would have to say, A, no human being is rubbish, and B, you don't dump people. Oh, sorry. Thomas Markle, stop phoning me. Stop phoning me. Stop. What? Trevor Eggleston? No. Trev. No, Trev. No. I don't want to hear anything about anybody dumping. No. It's wrong to... No. What? Somebody dumped you? What? Oh. And on that note, I will say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest and hopefully a little bit of amusement today. I've tried to sort of send the whole thing up and make light of what really otherwise would be heavy going, so that at least we can get a laugh or two out of it as well. And if you've liked, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and remember, keep the questions coming in. This can't be done without you. Thank you so much. God bless and goodbye.